Now available in paperback and Kindle, vampires stalk the darkness of The Eternal Night. Get your copy of Eternal Night in paperback and Kindle on Amazon.com. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. I was watching a Mad Black 80 video where he was talking about how all of these white racists are getting butthurt about the success of Sinners at the Oscars. Now, I was planning on making a video about all of these white racists I've been seeing on social media getting in their feelings about the success of Sinners earlier this week. However, I was busy making other content and couldn't get the time to film that video because of the limitations I have due to my heart condition. However, as I was watching what was going on social media, I was seeing many of these white racists getting into extreme cases of cope as they watch Sinners win 4 Oscars and go out here and win Oscars for Michael B. Jordan as related to the role of Best Actor for playing Smoke and Snack, watching Ryan Coogler win Best Original Screenplay for writing Sinners, and watching Autumn Durald-Akapau win Best Cinematography for the beautiful shots she made on the film Sinners. And all of those Academy Awards, including Best Original Score. This is some of what's got many of these white folks extremely upset online. And as they've been upset online, they've just basically been showing all of their ass to everyone as related to showing how angry they are about the movie Sinners. And as they show us how angry they are, they show us how many of these white racists really don't want to see black excellence and I see a black person be successful on screen. Now, Sinners is a groundbreaking film because it basically shows and cements what white Hollywood has been trying to sabotage for the last 7 years. Now, when Ryan Coogler came out with Black Panther in 2018, it clearly showed Hollywood that there was an audience that was ready to watch black fantasy and black science fiction and black horror movies. However, Hollywood went out of its way to try to sabotage the growth of this genre, even though many black independent creators like myself have been out here creating lots of great stories on independent publishing platforms like Amazon's KDP, because whenever we try to submit to those stories to many of the white female editors who are in publishing and their alphabet partners, what they do is go out here and send us rejection letters. So many black creators like myself, we go out here and we publish our own material like I do here on the SJS Direct imprint with my fantasy like the Isis, Esteem, and John Haynes series, and with horror stories I do like Eternal Night, and some of the Isis stories like Isis Bride of Dracula, Isis Night of the Vampires, and stories like Isis Escape from Transylvania, stories that revolve around genres like fantasy and horror that feature black characters from a black perspective. And Hollywood has been working hard behind the scenes to sabotage the growth of that genre since the success of Black Panther, because what they really want is for everyone to only see white characters in fantasy, because they only want us imagining the world in white. But ever since the success of Black Panther, we've seen this genre grow in spite of attempts to sabotage it, like with the film A Wrinkle in Time, and as related to trying to make box office failures, and the attempts to undermine Black Panther's sequel, Wakanda Forever. All of these efforts basically have failed because almost 7 years later, Ryan Coogler comes out once again with the film Sinners and creates a blockbuster hit at the box office that cements the fact that there is an audience for black for black fantasy, black science fiction, and black horror from black creators like myself and Ryan Coogler. There's a clear audience for this material, and this genre could be the one that could basically grow to the point where it could basically become a strong genre that could save Hollywood out of the slump that it's currently in. Now, Hollywood right now is in a bad place where they're just not doing well. No, many of their movies basically are failing because they've got a bumper crop of really inexperienced and incompetent writers who really don't know how to tell stories. And Ryan Coogler basically has risen above these low-grade, no-talent types and shown his excellence. And that's one of the things that's got many of these white racists having a bad case of cope online, that this black filmmaker is rising to a higher level and showing that you can go out here and have success in the genres of horror and fantasy as related to Black Panther, which show that, again, that you could make a black superhero movie and it could do well, even though we saw this all the way back in 1998 with Wesley Snipes' Blade, because Blade was the movie made by Wesley Snipes that went out here and basically saved the superhero genre after Batman and Robin basically tanked at the box office. It was Wesley Snipes' Blade that came out here and basically revived the entire superhero genre. So there wouldn't be any 2000 X-Men, 2002 Spider-Man, or Marvel Cinematic Universe if it hadn't been for Wesley Snipes. And that also burns up many of the white comic fans and white racists in fandom, that a black man is the one responsible for saving the entire superhero movie genre. And it also burns them up that to see a black man, again, go out here and be successful in the genre of horror, where they basically had this whole genre dominant for many years as related to being able to control the narrative of that genre. I mean, most of the genre of horror basically was controlled by white filmmakers, and now you have a black filmmaker not only coming out here and showing that he could be competent in making those type of films, he also showed he could be excellent at making these type of films, because his film basically became one of the highest grossing films as related to the genre, because we rarely hear about horror movies getting into the $100 million box office range or being global hits. No, we don't hear about that at all. And again, that shows the excellence of Ryan Coogler as a filmmaker, his excellence, and it's related to his skill as a filmmaker and a screenwriter. And that's the thing that's got most of these white racists online basically having a bad case of cope, where they're going out here and getting in their feelings and trying to do everything to avoid giving Ryan Coogler his flowers as related to Sinners and its success. I mean, the things that I've seen online that are hilarious is the amount of cope. And I remember seeing one post on X that I've really found to be, funny. I mean, one person was writing saying, "Oh, The Sinners is a ripoff of From Dusk Till Dawn," and I gotta call BS on that, because From Dusk Till Dawn was basically a popcorn movie, but Sinners basically had much more layers and much more depth than From Dusk Till Dawn, and that shows by your so-called Academy of Motion Pictures of Arts and Sciences giving Ryan Coogler the Oscar for Best Screenplay. They wouldn't have given him that Oscar for Best Screenplay if they didn't think that his story was original, because when you look at Sinner's story, there was a lot of layers to that story as related to showing the relations as related to black people and white people in this country. The reason why he said it in that setting was to make commentary about culture, and he did a fantastic job as related to making that commentary about black culture that was something that really, again, upsets white people because it holds a mirror to their faces about the monsters that many of these white racists are. It really, again, shows the horror of their inhumane behavior towards black people. That's what they really hate, really seeing that you have a black writer going out here and telling the truth in their story. That's what they really don't like, because what they really like is being able to control our narrative like they did during the blaxploitation era, after the late Melvin Van Peebles showed the world that there was an audience of hungry black people for film with his film Sweetback. These same white people, the reason why they love blaxploitation movies is because they could go out here and make money at our expense and go out here and tell their stories with us. But the thing that really also burns them about Sinners is that you have Ryan Coogler telling our story from our perspective. And as we tell our story went out here and was successful at one, showing that there was a cemented black audience that wants to see black horror and black sci-fi and black fantasy stories, and two, wants to see it from a black perspective without some white person coming in and trying to go out here and water things down. And three, that upsets them that when they see a black person controlling the narrative as related to our story. That's the other thing that has many of these white racists upset, is that Ryan Coogler also had complete control over his story, and that's what showed how authentic it was. And that's what's got many of these white people's boxers in a bunch, got their boxers in a bunch, is that you've got a black person, again, completely controlling the narrative as related to our story. And that's what they really don't like. They really don't like that at all. And as they have to deal with their cope, what they're doing is going out here and looking for any excuse to try to, again, come at this movie, to dismiss it. I mean, I've seen people, again, not only come out here with it's a ripoff from Dusk Till Dawn, which was one effort to try to minimize the impact of this movie as related to black culture. The other thing that they want to do is go out here and talk about how, oh, there's no sort of so-called diversity as related to there not being any sort of alphabet characters in the movie. And that's another thing that they're trying to do, because what they want to do is nitpick at this film as related to trying to say that its narrative isn't diverse. That's what they're trying to do with some of these alphabet types. They're trying to come in and try and say, oh, you didn't put in any HIJK people in this film, even though the film is set during the time of Jim Crow, where we really didn't have many people, again, coming out like that, because these racists, they basically, when it came down to people, again, they were looking to lynch anyone who wasn't white and male as related to things, who didn't agree with them. So that was another argument that they went out here and making. And then you've got these white racists who want to say this film is revenge porn, and they want to say that, oh, black people were making revenge porn as related to white people. No, we weren't making, Sinners wasn't revenge porn at all in any way, shape, or form. No, what Ryan Coogler was doing was making a commentary that, again, held a mirror to the faces of white people, and they can't they can't cope with what they're seeing. They can't cope with the reality that they're seeing as related to the mirror shown to them in this film. And what they really hate the most, again, is you got a black man telling his story to the world and showing our story from our perspective and our narrative, and showing that we can go out here and be excellent. That's the ultimate thing that really makes these white racists mad, is that, oh, you got a black person who's out here showing black excellence in an era where these white folks can't go out here and minimize or dismiss it. basically Ryan Coogler has shown he's made a cinematic masterpiece, and these folks can't take it. No, they can't take it, and they also can't take the fact that he outsmarted them on the business deal where he actually owns this film. He owns this film after 25 years. So this is all this is making these folks mad that, oh, black people are now not only making excellent films, but we also are getting a good understanding of the business behind the camera as related to controlling our image and controlling our stories. And they know that this is going to be the future, because when it comes down to creators like myself, you're not going to be able to go out here and try to get us to go along with your little 2-bit movie deals where you can go out here and buy the rights to our property and then do whatever you want with it. No, you're not going to be able to do that. And they know that the stories that are coming from the genre of black fantasy, black science fiction, and black horror are going to be along the lines of Sinners. They know that the stories are going to be more like this because that's what I have been producing since 2002. Now, a lot of these white folks, they got in their feelings about one of these guys, Smoke or Stack, going out here and shooting up white folks at the end of Sinners. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, because I've been writing that type of stuff since 2002 as related to the first published ISIS. Back in 1999, when I wrote ISIS, I had a whole scene where ISIS, basically a black woman who is descended from the Egyptian gods, winds up killing up a bunch of Klansmen, and that's canon to ISIS's story. After they lynch her husband and kill her son, she goes and kills all these Klansmen in the chapter of the 2002 ISIS. And I also have another vampire story called Eternal Night, which basically shows you vampires from a black perspective. And in that story, I basically go deep into the vampire lore, and I make a similar commentary to Sinners. I mean, if you read Eternal Night, it basically it makes a deep cultural commentary about the Bible, about black people, and basically makes a commentary on the state of the world. I mean, if you like Sinners, you definitely will love Eternal Night. Eternal Night really goes super in depth as related to horror with the vampire lore, and it's one of those books that would not go out here and meet the standard for these white folks as related to the narratives they want to see, because the narratives that white folks love to see about black people in their stories is usually, oh, we have a black character, but they usually wind up dying in some sort of tragic fashion at the end of the story, or they wind up having some sort of failure, like in the case of many of the Richard Wright books. Like every time there's a Richard Wright book, there's always a black man like Baker Thomas wind up dying, or A Raisin in the Sun, where they wind up completely broke at the end of the story, or the movie I watched with Eartha Kitt called Anna Lucasta, basically showing the black woman not being loyal to her husband. They love pushing those type of anti-black narratives to promote white supremacy and the idea of black failure in their stories. But when we go out here and start telling our stories, we start showing us winning. And that's the other thing that got white folks upset. In Sinners, the black people win at the end of the story, and that's what they really hate. They hate stories from black people like Ryan Coogler and myself. I mean, in the stories that I write, the characters win, because if you read Eternal Night, or you read the stories like I did, like Isis Bride of Dracula, where John Haynes puts an ass whooping on Dracula, these guys basically ain't shown as supreme or incredibly powerful. No, the white folks basically get their asses handed to them, and they don't really like pushing those narratives in Hollywood films or any sort of mainstream publishing, because they don't want black people to see themselves winning. And that's the other thing that's got many of these white folks got they grills cooking, because here's a film that goes out here and promotes the narrative that black people are out here. We're living a positive life, because that's what black people were doing during the time of sinners. Again, you had black people prospering. But the whole thing is the white people come in and look to make our life hard, and they don't like seeing that story. And on top of it, they don't like seeing the story of black people winning. That's the thing that's got, again, a lot of these guys boxers in a bunch. Many of these online racists, whether they be these YouTube grifters or these folks on X who got their grills cooking, again, they really can't they really understand that they can't beat the success of sinners. And they also know that that sinners is the tip of the iceberg. They know it's the tip of the iceberg, and they know that there's a whole dearth of material, because I've been out here and I've seen the dearth of material like Crescent City Monsters and books like Curse of the Gorgon. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and books like I do, like Eternal Night. Again, there's a whole host of black creators, and those black creators who are FBA, we've got our heads on straight as related to the narratives we're going to present. And the narratives we're going to present are not the ones that the white supremacist wants to push. No, they know that with Michael B. Jordan winning this Oscar, you can't go out here and push the narratives like you used to do as related to your previous Oscar winners, like in the case of many of the Oscar winners, where you got either the neutered black man that Sidney Poitier played, or you got the violent black brute that Denzel Washington played as related to Alonzo, or the character that Halle Berry played, the Letitia Musgrove, who basically compromised her dignity, or the Monique who played the ghetto single mother. No, you can't push them narratives anymore. No, we're pushing for black excellence. And that's the thing that's got, again, all these folks all upset, got their grills cooking. Oh, this film is something wrong with it. It's a ripoff of Dusk Till Dawn. No, it's original black filmmaking. It's coming from the black perspective. And no matter what you did, you couldn't sabotage the genre of black fantasy, black science fiction, and black horror. You can't stop the momentum. And that's what also has all these folks all burnt up, got them all burnt up and got their grills cooking like hot dogs, shrimp, barbecue. I mean, their grills are all cooking because they know they can't stop the momentum. I mean, Sinners showed us that no matter what they do to sabotage the genres of black fantasy, black science fiction, black horror, you can't stop the momentum. And there's an audience there that's hungry for this material, an audience that's there that's hungry for this material. And Hollywood doesn't want to go out here and make more material because, again, a lot of people want to say, oh, the only color in Hollywood is green. No, Hollywood is an anti-black institution because they could have made that green after the success of Black Panther. My phone should have been ringing off the hook after the success of Black Panther. I mean, when it comes down to Black Panther, it showed you clearly that there was an audience there. And even after the success of Sinners, my phone should be ringing off the hook because, again, I got a black horror novel, Eternal Night, that's ready to be made. But these folks don't want black people to be the face of the fantasy genres, the horror genres, or the sci-fi genres, because they don't want to imagine a world where black people are the center of the story. One, they don't want to imagine a world where black people are in charge, are the main characters. They don't want to imagine a world where black people are the ones who have power, because if you can imagine yourself as being powerful, that's something that basically will undermine many of the white supremacist narratives that are out here in the media. That's one of the things that can undermine their success as related to pushing their anti-black narratives. And that's why all these folks are out here with their grills cooking, because they know that they no longer control the narrative as related to black people, as related to our stories. No, they basically went out here, and as they sent us rejection letters at their mainstream publishers as related to our stories, we went out here and started telling our own stories. on independent platforms. And as they try to dismiss us on our platforms, they couldn't stop our momentum. And that's what I've experienced as related to things, because I've been out here ever since about 1998 or 1997 trying to get stuff like John Haynes to the marketplace. I mean, I've been out here for almost about 30 years, and as related to mainstream, people didn't want it at the mainstream publishers. The white women and the alphabet folks didn't want stuff I did, like Temptation of John Haynes. I remember in 2006, I sent out Temptation to John Haynes and got vehement rejections. I remember people really saying, oh, I don't want to do that type of story. But now that genre is popular, and Temptation has been popular ever since about 2011. I mean, everybody who reads it loves it. And again, that's a kind of a horror, supernatural type stuff, but similar to Sinners and also like Eternal Night. Again, I've been doing these type of stories for many years, and I'm really glad to see, again, Ryan Coogler get his flowers and get his success. I'm glad to see Michael B. Jordan get his flowers and his success playing a strong black man, something that we usually don't see somebody get awards for. I mean, Will Smith had his award tarnished by his display at the Oscars. That was the first time we saw a black man win an Oscar for something positive. But Michael B. Jordan won that Oscar and again showed, black excellence. And the fact that they can't refute the black excellence, and it's, again, not even, like Mad Black 80 was saying, not even about their awards. It's about our black excellence and our success. That's the thing that burns up all these folks on social media. That's the thing that's got they grills cooking up all these hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken, and all sorts of stuff. It's got they grills cooking because they know that they can't beat black excellence, and they know that there's a wave of black excellence, and they know that they can't control the narrative anymore. No, they know they can't control the narrative anymore, and the only thing that can stop this momentum is us, and we have to understand our power as black consumers. If we keep buying these stories from black writers like myself directly, because again, that was the other thing that upsets them, is that they got to know they can't go out here and look to use their system to keep us down anymore. They can't talk about going through agents and managers. No, you're going to have to go directly to black people like Ryan Coogler. You're going to have to pay for these stories. And that's what the other thing that burns them up is knowing, hey, because I turned these people down back in the 90s and the early 2000s, now I got to go to them directly because their stuff is published and copyrighted by them. They own the rights to their stuff. And if I want to go out here and get them ducats as related to the big box office from black fantasy, black horror, black science fiction, I'm going to have to go out here and put the money down and give these black people wealth. And that's the other thing that burns them up is they don't want to see, again, a guy like Ryan Coogler get that wealth, because his deal means he's going to get wealth from his own material, not only the Oscar, but the wealth at the end. Again, this is a whole lot for folks to unpack about this whole situation, a lot to unpack, because there's a lot of reasons why these white folks is so mad at the movie Sinners, so much, again, about why they so mad. And the reasons why they so mad is because they know that they don't control our narrative. They know they don't control our money. They know that we can go out here and create excellent stories in the genres of fantasy and horror. And they know that as we control our stories, that narrative is going to change. And it's going to change from us looking to be the character who gets killed in the first 5 minutes of the movie to us being the hero of the story and be the one who winds up surviving at the end of the movie, while the white villain winds up dying at the end of the story. Now, if you want to check out my story that's very similar to Sinners, Eternal Night, you can find that black vampire story that's set in the 1990s on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can find Eternal Night at other online booksellers like Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And Eternal Night definitely is not like the movie From Dusk Till Dawn. No, Eternal Night goes deep into the lore of vampires from a black perspective, focuses on the black church and focuses on black culture, and also focuses on the black goth subculture nobody wants to talk about. I go super in depth as related to black culture in Eternal Night, and that book is one that basically will show you that there is a great horror story from a black perspective with black characters, and it was a part of the SJS Direct universe as related to the Lilith Graves story, which is tied to the Isis book, Isis Night of the Vampires, and Isis Bride of Dracula, and Isis Escape from Transylvania, 3 other horror stories, and Esteem Horror in the Hamptons, the Vampire Saga on the SJS Direct universe. Again, you can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them in other online bookstores like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want me to take these white racist fanboys to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App to help me stay on the air so I can keep buying them Applewood chips to keep taking these white boys and these white racists to the barbecue. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteem Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today.